Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 120, the 2021 Game of the Year Pick Edition episode.
Yay.
With a few other things intermixed.
The definitive list. You've
Definitive.
seen everybody else's Game of the Year, but now you're about to hear the real one.
You forgot. No, the most important. It is the world exclusive.
World
Yeah.
exclusive.
World premiere.
Yeah, world
Oh, that's
premiere.
it. World premiere.
They say exclusive sometimes too. They kind of intermix them all.
Yeah, world premiere.
When
Yeah.
is that? When is the Game Awards? Is that this week?
It's
It
this
is
Thursday. Right?
Thursday.
This Thursday.
This
It's the
Thursday.
middle of the night for me, so I'm gonna be asleep and I'm gonna wake up to all this good gaming goodness.
Isn't that
I think
when
they usually do it while we're recording DCP, so I'm usually like half listening to
Yeah,
what you guys are saying
same.
and half watching.
Why don't we just live watch it on DCP?
Live.
Like,
That's
don't
a
worry,
good
guys.
point.
Destinies at the end of the show, I'm sure. It's
Yeah, Destiny
Yeah.
is in
They're
there
up
when it is
for
in
one
announcement.
award.
Please Destiny anyway, right? So why do you need to do that? Just be
Maybe-
like, we're just gonna commandeer this
Yeah.
show.
Nothing big's happening in Destiny this week. It should be fine.
Yeah, and maybe they announce some Witch Queen stuff, you know? Yeah. At the Game Awards.
That's why initially I was like, oh, we could just like do a live watch with everyone, and then I was like, oh wait, Tuesday's pretty big. Never mind.
Yeah.
We might need a show.
Also, it'd be like
Everybody-
a 4-hour show.
Yeah, right?
Everybody on the show picked their top three, right? The top three games of the year.
I picked
But I had a
my
couple-
top game. The rest are
just
like...
won.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I have picks of other things that like fall into categories, and I'm like, oh, this and that. But like, honestly, I have just one top game.
All right, I got a couple of rapid fire questions though for you before we get into it. Okay,
Okay.
just
Exciting.
nobody prepared for this. I just want you to off the cuff tell me what the most surprising game of 2021 was.
Surprising. Ooh.
Surprising game of 2021.
Most surprising.
Yeah.
game.
Ooh, okay. Hold on. Let's see.
Hmm.
Just some options
Off the cuff,
here.
just what comes to your mind the fastest? Dead air.
I almost want to say, like, but it feels kind of bad for me to say because I haven't fully finished it, right? But I feel like Death's Door for me. Like
Okay.
I'm about halfway through that. I love it, and the only reason I haven't finished it is because I haven't had the time to sit down and get around to finish it. But like, I love everything I've played from the first half, so I already know it's going to be like. Had I finished it, it might have even made it into my Game of the Year picks this year. But I feel like. Because on one hand, I could have said something like Eastwood or something like that, but like because I was so looking forward to that game for a long time, I feel like it wasn't a surprise to me. Whereas Death's Door kind of just came out of
That's
nowhere.
fair.
I was like, this is an interesting looking game, like a crow with a sword, and I'm like, damn, this
Yeah.
game is awesome.
Yeah, it was an awesome game. I really enjoyed that.
Mm.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that,
True.
like, I looked at it initially at the trailer.
We
initially,
were
I
all
was
like-
"This looks bad," and then I
Bad.
played it, and it really became one of my favorite experiences of the year. Like, it was, I'm prone to, I like the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy franchise a lot, the movie franchise, and this has a very similar feeling to that. Unfortunately, the combat wasn't quite good enough to make it to my Game of the Year list,
Mhm.
but it was definitely my biggest surprise of the year.
Okay.
That was a big surprise for me just because I hated it so much, and then it came out and everyone said it was the greatest game of all time, and I was like, what the hell? What are you smoking?
So this, I feel like this crosses categories for me, but Metroid Dread was a big surprise for me because it was, because when did we know it was actually coming out? It wasn't until halfway through the year, right? Didn't they suddenly announce it that they were?
true.
Yeah,
it
we
was
didn't get a
dropping
release
in?
date until quite late.
Yeah, it was like March or April or something like that. They're like, it's coming out in October, and I was like, what? And then the gameplay looked cool, and so I feel like I feel like that was the most surprising for me. I mean, there was a lot of other stuff out there.
That's fair.
Like Returnal was a really surprise title that I ended up really enjoying. But yeah.
I think for me, I would go with Unsighted, which is an indie game that I hadn't heard anything about. Wasn't on my, even though it's got like all the things that I like about games, so I would expect to have known about it. But it came out and it had this interesting system of everyone in the world has a timer, and when that timer expires, they die. And you can choose to extend their life and their timer by giving them items, and that's completely up to you. It's completely a you choice. So you kind of wrestle with that feeling of, I have to be kind of fast with getting things done, or like, who do I want to save? There's a sweet old lady, but should I be investing all my time in a lady that's got like 10 hours left? So I was really surprised with that because it's a game that not many people know about. There was no
Mm.
buzz around it, and the combat is really good. The thing, it's just such a well-made game.
Hmm.
It's on Game Pass.
Cool.
So that was definitely a surprise. It just came out of nowhere, and I was like, wow, this is seriously a very good game.
I love when indie games are on Game Pass because sometimes you're like, I don't know, do I
Yeah,
want to spend
yeah,
$20 for this? I don't know.
Mm.
Like the premise of it isn't really my usual thing, so I'm not sure I want to grab it. But once I Game Pass, I'm like, oh yeah, definitely give it a shot.
That
Yeah,
just happened to
absolutely.
me with Solar Ash, which came out this week. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait to see if
yeah.
this is on Game Pass. And it's like, it's only on PlayStation. I'm like, ah.
Yep.
But it's nice to support developers, obviously. And they're
Mm.
the ones that made Hyperlight Drifter. So this is their
Oh,
follow-up.
yes.
And the next,
Yeah.
next question I got for you is, what was the most disappointing game of 2021 for you?
Disappointing.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
How can you be disappointed by something you have such low expectations for?
Actually, that's a good point. That's a good point.
For me, it was Monster Hunter Rise because after I had enjoyed Monster Hunter World so much, I was really looking forward to Rise, and I bounced off it almost immediately. I think I ended up putting about 20 hours into that game and just said, this one's just not for me.
Interesting. You know, this is a tough one because I definitely don't really think about games that disappointed me. Like as soon as a game disappoints me, I'm like, all right, whatever, I'm moving on to the next game because there's tons of games.
That's why
like,
he never texted me back when I texted him.
the disappointment, the disappointment, non-text, ghosting. Yeah, you know, I think Rise is going to fall into that category for me as well because I was also expecting world level of excitement and post-game grind and all that. And even though it was a good game and it definitely doesn't deserve to be under a most disappointing category, if I'm going to look through the games that I played this year, I would probably be disappointed over that not having the longevity of World. But the gameplay was fun.
Point, yeah.
No, I think that's fair. You know, like I think Rise has my favorite gameplay of any Monster Hunter, but there just wasn't the content there for you to like grind out in that game forever.
Yeah.
So I do get that. I think for me, it might be Resident Evil Village.
This is my second pick, Watts. I agree with this pick.
Yeah, just because like there was so much around Lady D and the sisters and this super cool castle and this story about like, you know, them taking virgins and making them into wine. There was so, you know, you played as the maiden in that demo and you had all this stuff and then you get there and you kill her and you're like, oh, huh? She's not gonna like come back. And so that was kind of weird. I did feel a sense of disappointment when that happened because I was like, I thought would get to spend more time in this awesome castle. But also there were points of the game that I hated when there were a bunch of enemies. Hated it. Some of the boss fights, like they tried to make them be almost Souls-like in the way that the boss is, but you are clunky Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I overall enjoyed the game, but there was definitely points where I was like, I'm a little disappointed about this.
7 was so revolutionary, where 8 felt like it really fell back to some of the Resident Evil kind of, I don't know, tropes, which were fun in some ways, but 7 was just such a high point. 8 was it was a good game. It just wasn't as crazy good as 7 was.
Yeah.
Also, no VR support. What the fuck?
Come on.
I realized what my entry for this list will be. Right, it was Aeon Must Die. Right now, it's most
that's a good one.
But it's good, right? It's like I'm glad it was most disappointing, but I'm also not glad. I'm glad because, of course, all the drama around what the studio did, so they didn't deserve for it to be good. But also because when I saw the trailer, I was so excited for it because it looks like Gurren Lagann and the combat looks amazing, and that has the most boring gameplay in existence. I've never seen so many loading screens. I spent more time on loading screens than I did in the game, and I was like, I hate this. So I'm just hoping that studio messed up. I'm hoping that the original studio have got a good vision for the gameplay. I really hope their game doesn't end up being the same.
I hope so.
Please do it right.
Yeah, I do hope so because their style is super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope their new game is awesome.
What game had the best graphics this year?
Ooh, interesting.
Eastwood.
That's fair. That's fair. That game is
It
really
is.
good
It is
looking.
a beautiful. It is a beautiful pixel game.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, Returnal also maybe. Returnal looks incredible.
It's definitely good looking. Yeah.
Returnal is up
Mm.
there.
So you have Forza as well. This is this year, right?
Forza,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Forza's
Forza's
amazing
That
looking.
is
I
really
think
good.
Ratchet and Clank deserves to be at least in the running
Yes,
here.
yes. That one
Definitely.
looked really good. Yep.
I think that Kena Bridge of Spirits deserves to be in the running here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it was so well animated. Like
Yes.
the emotion portrayed on characters' faces, I think, is Pixar quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I just named all the ones.
Yeah.
You just named all
Yeah.
our picks.
How about those ones?
If you were to pick
Yeah,
one, though,
we were having I think I'd go with Kana because we were having this conversation. We were like, Ratchet and Clank is obviously the very beautiful game. But
Yeah.
Kana has this style and animation quality to it
Mm.
that, like you said, is movie level. And just the
Yeah.
way that they have, like a boss fight, for example, and the boss fight, the way that the arena looks and the moves that they have and everything, it works
Mm.
so perfectly together for the thematics of the boss fight.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kana was just a very special world to be in. It was really pretty.
nice.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, I think I would pick. It was
Oh,
just
yeah?
so beautiful,
Yeah.
so much of the time. It was beautiful both artistically and technically.
Hmm.
Like it had the full suite of ray tracing and all the modern gadgets. But it also just the variety of the different worlds that you went to. Every one of them was just really cool looking, and
Yeah.
the characters looked great. Bad guys looked great. The ships looked great. Like everything about it looked great. It was
Nice.
really fun.
Yeah, honestly, if I was going to look at pure graphics, I think Ratchet and Clank might be it for me because the diversity of the worlds
That's
you
fair,
went
yeah.
through and like the
Mm.
level of ray tracing and all that, like I feel like that checked so many technical levels for visuals that it was really impressive.
When you were on that world and there's the giant robot and you were
Mhm.
kind of skating around it, that was a
That was
very
fun.
cool experience in a game. You're just like, oh my God, it
Yeah.
looks so good. It's a great game.
I wanted to specifically avoid Elder Ring, what's it called? Elder Scrolls?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, thank you. Fucking old man. With this one. So I went with most anticipated game that has not been announced yet.
Oh,
You have to pick one that has not been announced.
Mm.
Make one up.
Make up a game. Well, the perfect, most awesome game. That's the
Yeah,
title.
Bloodborne 2.
Or maybe we should modify it to like a game that we haven't
like a
seen gameplay of
sequel
yet.
or yeah, okay.
Like
Oh,
maybe
wait.
we know what's coming, but we haven't
Most
seen it yet.
Oh.
Because I don't
Does
want
it-
it to be Elden Ring 4
Does
times.
the anime, I don't remember where they I think it was the Sony, it was the Sony conference, the Korean game where it was like the girl with the super long hair and the beautiful butt.
Yeah, that
And
one.
the fighting style was super cool and like
Bayonetta?
people actually thought it was a Bayonetta thing.
Mm.
But what was it called? Project Eve.
Yeah.
Project Eve, for sure. I need to know more about that game. They just showed it and then I haven't heard anything. Maybe I should Google it.
I
But
think
that game, exciting.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, like, technically we've seen gameplay, so I don't know if it falls into this category, but Black Myth Wukong.
Mm-hmm. But we
if I
still don't
can't-
know much about it, right? We've seen
True.
stuff about it, but we don't know when it's coming out. We don't know really what
Yeah.
the game is.
But if I can't use that one, I'd say Perfect Dark, because we know they're working on a new Perfect Dark. We've seen
Ooh.
nothing but just like the tease, so I kind of want to see where that goes.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. For me, so like it's been announced, but we haven't seen any gameplay. And that is
Yep.
the next Metroid title, like the big one.
Yeah.
You know, because
Mm.
again, Dread was I thought this was like a stopgap. Dread ended up being amazing. But then they also have this other Metroid that I've been salivating, chomping at the bit for
Prime
years.
4.
Yeah, Prime. Is it Prime 4? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
literally just showed the title and that was it. And they're like, it's happening sometime in the future. And I'm like, yes, give me this game. I want it,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
And that's definitely my most anticipated.
Mm.
I'm half hoping that it takes long enough to come out that it comes out for the next Nintendo hardware. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you on that. Yeah.
I'd love it to be like a launch game for Nintendo's next, whether that be the Switch Pro or the Switch 2, whatever it ends up being, or the Wii
Switch
3. I don't know.
The Switch
Final
X.
Fantasy VII Part 2 is a very good point.
Oh yeah.
That's a very good
That's
point,
a good
too.
one. Yeah.
Square Enix are hoping you guys forgot about that game. It's like, if we talk about Final Fantasy 16 and Endwalker enough, you guys might forget that we started the remake. They're like, it's like that project where you're like, I'm gonna redecorate my house, and then you tear the wallpaper down. You're like, why have I done this? They're just like, why have we tried to remake Final Fantasy 7? We don't want to do this anymore. Like, maybe they'll forget about it.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
All right, those were my questions.
Nice.
question.
All right.
They were great.
Good questions. Thanks for that, Brian. That was fun.
So, do you guys want to do like all our top threes? We'll go in a circle.
Sure.
Yeah, and discuss them.
All right. Do you want to do the all top threes, or do you just want to start with number 3 and then we'll do a round, and then number 2 and we'll do a
You
round?
could do a
How do you
you
guys
could
wanna
do a
do it?
3 and build up. I'll figure
Yeah.
something
Okay.
out for mine.
Okay, I gotta figure out which one's at 3.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have them numbered?
I have a 3. God, what? This is now I feel.
This
under
was the
pressure.
hardest one for me because my top 2 are set in stone. Like, absolutely my favorite games of the year.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's how I treated these, as my favorite games of the year. They may not technically be the best games of the year,
Yeah.
but they were my favorites.
your
And that's how
favorite.
That's
exactly.
how I'm treating this.
I can start with my what I would
Sure.
I see. I'm not calling it my 3. I'm calling this my favorite indie title. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
And because I think it would end up ranking with the type of games that I'm talking about, but I think for me, Grime was an amazing game. It checked off a lot of
Yeah.
the boxes, and it was incredible to see like a first time developer basically knock this game out and hit so many check boxes. There were problems with it for sure, and they've continued to develop and tweak it and all that, but like between map design, combat, and story and evolution and sound design and all that, there was just so much going for it that I was like, this is an awesome game, and it stuck with me too for a while. Like I thought about that game for probably a
Yeah.
good month after I played it, and yeah, so
It's an impressive game because you see a lot of the indie games that come out and you're like, oh, it's a 10-person crew, but they've outsourced animation, they've outsourced audio design, they
Yeah.
outsourced something else. So it's not actually like a group of 10 people that made the entire game, which is fine. It's still an indie game, but this was made by a group, that core group. They didn't outsource anything, and this was their first ever game that they made.
they were college
So
friends
I think it's
who got together.
yeah,
And,
oh, exactly. It's really impressive for it to be such a complete package, like having really good music for the boss fights and having the animations really well done. And like I said, map design. Map design is hard to get right. And I
map
guess
design,
I
progression,
just know how to
abilities.
do it.
They
Yeah.
nailed so many things that like I think seasoned developers try to strive for.
Yeah. And hey, they're working on DLC. They announced that they're working on
Yeah.
DLC.
That's cool.
That's good news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's my number 3, actually. So that's perfect.
Did I,
Perfect time.
we picked
Oh,
the same
snap.
three.
No, that's good. We'll just talk about it for extra time.
I saw some people talk about Death's Door as well, and that was a
Yeah.
close one of mine as well. But I feel like Grime edged it out, being
Yeah.
what felt like a bit more complex with all the build variety and all that,
Yeah.
and like Souls inspired. And the boss fights, there's some of them that were definitely tricky.
Yeah, I think Death's Door is more similar to like a Zelda type game.
Yeah.
Whereas Grime is more similar to like a Souls-like kind of game.
Yep.
So they have similar vibes, but they just slightly lean to one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Whereas like Grime, like it's the combat that's the game, right? It's not really there's exploration for sure. There's a lot of hidden stuff. I think the main reason you would say that I like Grime is because of the combat.
The combat, yeah. Also, but was the aesthetic initially? I was like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
like being in this rock world. We'll see about that. And then it grew on me, and then I was like, man, this rock world's awesome.
Yeah.
So it just
It rocks.
this rock world rocks.
It rocks.
It's got so much weight to it. It's so heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eric's?
My number 3 goes to Tales of Arise. I love this game so much this year. This was it was a battle. It was going to be like higher up, but I had to do some juggling around. But yeah, honestly, this one for me, I think is just like it is personally my favorite, like one of my favorite Tales games that I've played now. I feel like they did a great job of making it an entry point if you've never played the series before. I feel like for anyone that that was their goal this time around. It was kind of like much like Monster Hunter World did for Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Tales of Arise was what they tried to do for the Tales series. And I know, there's some elements of it that are a little bit sort of Marmite, like, some people really hate the fact that you get into battle and people are just shouting their move names and it gets a bit chaotic. I feel like if you like shonen anime, you kind of like that anyway, but I can understand why people will find it annoying. But honestly, I just think it was like, I feel like it's also, I like to describe it as like the perfect JRPG for people that are busy. Because like a lot of times JRPGs are just so daunting. It's like, I need 150 hours for this. Because they created it in like a wide linear nature where, you can just golden line it, run through things, have a nice time, and do it in, it's still going to be like 50, 60 hours. So it's still a good chunk. But at the same time, you can also explore, find things, but not in such a like crazy daunting way that's going to take all your time. So I feel like they just struck a really good balance. Like if I was going to like really nitpick, like the story started to fall apart a little bit towards the end, but honestly, I just really enjoyed it. Super fun gameplay, looked amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you never play a Tales game, I'd say just grab Arise because I think it's a fantastic entry to the series.
It is. Yeah, Tales of Arise is really great. And as soon as I reached the like kind of snow area, snow ice area, I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. So pretty. I'm sure it probably gets annoying watching me stream Tales of Arise because I also say the move names when they say the move names.
Yes, that's amazing.
I can't help it.
That actually increases your damage. So it's got to be done.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, Tales of Arise, and I completely agree. It's a great entry point. So if anyone out there is like, oh, I don't know, I haven't played any of the other Tales games, it does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a very good job of introducing you to the mechanics in the game in Tales of Arise. It's not overwhelming. They do it slowly, and then you figure it out, and then they introduce something else, and the pacing of that is really well done.
Unlike the demo.
Yeah, unlike the demo where you're like, huh?
Yeah.
This year, my number 3 is going to Guilty Gear Strive. I actually fell in love with this game over the course of playing it. It was one of those games where like any like spare 10 minutes I had, I would just boot it up and play a match or two. I really like the gameplay is really good. Like it's a fighting game. And the gameplay just feels really good. It's fast, it's frenetic, but it's not overwhelming like some fighting games can be. It's like there's not so much going on the screen that you can't really identify what's happening. It feels like I can get a handle on this, but there's also room to improve, and there's a skill gap that is learnable, right? Also, the characters were really fun. So many fighting games have characters that you just don't care about. Like, you don't connect with them on any level. They're not interesting. All the characters in Guilty Gear Strive at launch were really fun. The characters they've added so far have been also very fun. Like, this this U.S. general that has a alien in a coffin that he swings around at you. It's like, they're just really fun. They also play really distinctly. There's a ton of different styles of gameplay in there. It has an awesome training mode. So, like, if you're brand new to fighting games or you're brand new to this style of fighting game, like, it really does a good job of training you on, like, how to do stuff and, the skills involved. It even comes with, like, a movie that you can watch to, like, get the story of the game, which is kind of fun. Cool. I really fell in love with this game. I thought it was fantastic. Unfortunately, like, I haven't heard much about it, like, as far as like game of the year list. So I thought I would just pop it on here. There's so many that could be my number 3, but I really wanted to get this one on here.
I forgot what it's nominated for. It's nominated for something. Do you remember?
Like best esports game or something like that.
It's not whatever category it was. I voted for it. It's one of those games. It's one of those fighting games where the style is just so cool and all of the characters have so much personality that even if you're not a fighting game fan, I think you see it and you're like, yeah, I want to play this game. I want to check it out.
Yeah. Oh, and the online is fantastic too. They use that rollback netcode that it's really good. Like, you play people from across the world.
Cool.
Nice.
Taffy, you want to do your number 2?
All right, moving on up the list. So number 2 for me, which again, this is on the, like, for me personally, favorite, like what I enjoyed the most throughout the year type of thing. For me, I would say Returnal. And I know,
Yay.
some people fell off that game really quick, or other people just didn't like what was going on with that. But I really enjoyed it. It was almost a game that was literally made for me and what I would want from developers. You know, be like, I love roguelites, and I love the combat and like the arcadey style action, and then also some crazy story that's out there that's like a total trip and mind bender. That's like,
I love the mystery.
yeah,
The
suddenly,
mystery.
suddenly you feel like you're in Resident Evil, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then it keeps on going, and it gets harder and all that. Like, I thought that was amazing. I really enjoyed the formula behind it, and I've actually thought about it many times to come back to it and just like go through runs over and over, just because I enjoyed the formula. So
Yeah, I keep thinking about it too. I keep going, you know what? Maybe I should just jump in and do a run, even though a run could be like 6 hours.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's Returnal is for the game of the year. I surprised it was not there on the actual game of the year list for Returnal. I know that it may be very niche, and I know that some people had issues with you can't actually pause it. So if you wanted to use your PlayStation for anything else, you couldn't. You couldn't do it.
I lost several runs because of that.
But hey, now they changed it to where you can indeed do that. So that issue is fixed. So if you're someone who fell off of that game because you couldn't, turn it off and come back to it, check it out now.
Yeah.
Because you can do that now. But yeah, the combat was so good. The boss fight in one of the areas was probably one of my favorite boss fights just ever in a game. It was just so epic, and you're flying, and there's lots of things happening, and platforms disappearing. It was super cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, having that mystery in the back of your mind when you first go into the house and you're like, what's going on here? So having that in the back of your mind while you're playing, you're like, wait, what does this mean? And you listen to an audio log and you're like, are we crazy? What's going on?
Yeah.
It's very
And then
cool.
you get past the midpoint and you're like, what?
Yeah. What is happening? Love that game. Love that game.
Was that your number 2 as well?
That's my number 2.
Okay.
We are 2 for 2. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I feel, is going to be some people's number 1s, is Metroid Dread. So I same kind of thing. I mean, like, I love this game. It's fantastic. It was also kind of like a surprise for me, because obviously I haven't played. I've played a few Metroid games, but not like as many. But the second I jumped into that game, like the fluidity of gameplay, how good it looked, how good it ran, everything about it just felt amazing. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone will talk more about Metroid Dread as well. But like I think the only thing that stops it maybe for me from being number 1, partly is because I've got a different game for number 1, but also because the only slight setback is just the finger gymnastics that's required for some of the stuff at the end of it. I just felt like there were definitely at the end there were just definitely a few times where I died just because I was trying to remember how to do rocket and grapple and this and that and the other, and I was like, I don't have enough fingers. But apart from that, incredible game.
Yeah. I felt
like
like
we're talking about the finger gymnastics for that game, and at the same time, me and Jay Sniperton were playing Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo for the other show, and he said the exact same thing about that game. I think the buttons are exactly the same as they were for the Super Nintendo game, like almost 1-to-1, except where there are like new different abilities for Metroid, because it's crazy. Like it's the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the game is, it should be similar.
An evolution of it, right? Yeah.
Sequel.
Yeah, for me, it was really cool to finally get that gymnastic mastery going towards the end of the game. Once I started, the speed jump was still difficult for me, and there was a few secrets that I was like, I'm just not going to do that because I'm going to be frustrated by the end of finally doing the proper timing of it. But for the most part, once I like the bosses, I actually I felt once I got in the rhythm of it, I really, really enjoyed it. With the finger gymnastics that was going on.
That final boss, when you I'm not gonna spoil it, but when you nail the kind of the timing and stuff, like it does feel super satisfying.
Yeah. My number 2 is Cyber Shadow. This is an indie game that came out
yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
And I played it for a long time. I was playing it till March, and I still haven't beaten it yet. I'm on like the second to last level, so I got to get back to it to beat it. But this is, imagine if they made Ninja Gaiden in 2021, and you're getting pretty close to what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
It
those
is
are hard
real good.
games too.
Yeah, it is real good. It looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. The sound is fantastic. It's on the Switch, so it's portable. Like, everything lines up to make this game really good. It was released by Yacht Club Games. I don't think they've done a physical copy of it yet, but I'd love to see one. But if you like those old school kind of Ninja Gaiden-esque games, this thing does that thing really, really good. And there's like kind of a funky story, and there's gimmick levels where you're riding like a motorcycle and stuff like that. There's all sorts of fun stuff in there. It's really a great game, and it's one that stuck with me all year.
So I'm going to be doing like a 12 days of indies type thing leading up to Christmas where we just check out a new game every day and see what it's like. I'm going to play that because I haven't played it. So yeah, I'm absolutely adding that one because I'm sure I would love it. Nice. I remember you hearing about it and I was like, ooh, I want to play that.
I just tried to put Blasphemous in there too.
Oh yeah, Blasphemous is. Did you hear? Speaking of side tangent, the DLC is releasing December 9th.
Yeah.
For Blasphemous. Yeah.
I think that's the second DLC, right?
Yeah, it's like the finale of the story, I think. And then they also announced Blasphemous 2 coming out next year.
Oh, I missed that.
It's coming out next year?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Wow.
And they added the Blasphemous dude, the pointy hat dude, to Dead Cells. So
did they really?
Yeah, like they put like a little art piece for Dead Cells where they were like in the Smash Brothers way, they were like, everyone's here, because in Dead Cells you can get like a skin from like Skull Knight, from Guacamelee, from like there's about like 6-7 different games. So yeah, I actually want to go back this Christmas and play Dead Cells because I never went back and did all the DLC and stuff. So
nice.
I love how those indie developers all kind of like do all that IP sharing stuff.
Yeah,
they do.
Like,
yeah,
it just makes you happy. Like Shovel Knight does a lot of it. Like a lot of those games.
Yeah,
it's like they'll just kind of like, hey, be in our game, we'll be in your game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think it's probably because making indie games sounds like the worst experience of your life. Like you're banking it all on this one shot that you put like years and years and years of your life into, and if it doesn't take off, you lose a bunch of money and maybe go bankrupt and have to go work at an actual studio, like a AAA or whatever. It's so I think that bonds people. Like, you know the pain, I know the pain. Let's help each other out through the pain.
Yeah.
Tefty, what's your number one?
All right. Number one, I think this is pretty obvious. Outriders.
Obvious.
I mean,
it is
to be
obvious.
fair, Outriders, when we played it, was really fun. And then I just dropped off of it really fast.
Yeah.
But apparently it's worth revisiting.
Apparently, yeah, so I've heard.
Update.
Yeah. Yeah, so on a serious level, and as you guys I'm sure would be able to guess, Metroid Dread. I absolutely love the game. It checked off all of the boxes of a old school Metroid that I didn't realize I needed. And I loved the way it played on the Switch. And I just, it was incredible. Like the maps, I loved exploring the maps. Like, very few things about it actually bugged me legitimately, and the controls was one of them. But aside from that, like I thought it was incredible. I really enjoyed it.
It's my number one too. Probably to nobody's surprise either. But like I didn't know like how a Metroid could, like a 2D Metroid could be like so much better than Super Metroid, right? Like, which is still one of the best. But they made the movement so fluid, and Samus is so fast and agile. Like, it really adds another dimension to the gameplay. Also, a lot of the gameplay kind of weirdities of older Metroid games have been just kind of smoothed out. Like, wall jumping became a lot easier. Wall jumping used to be a pain in the ass. I love the world that they built. I love that there was kind of like these, infrequent cutscenes, but enough that, you had some idea what was going on in the world. I liked the EVs. I know a lot of people didn't like the EVs a lot, but I thought it really added it broke up the gameplay in a way that I thought was it was kind of needed. It wasn't just I'm exploring and I have no idea where I'm going for hours on an end. The EVs broke that up and like gave you kind of a different vibe for a little while, and it could get frustrating toward the end where the EVs are like super powered. But I appreciated that it broke up the gameplay. I also really liked how streamlined the game was. Like, I rarely felt like I was just completely lost and had no idea where to go, which can so often happen in Metroidvania type games.
Yeah.
And this game somehow just kind of, without you even realizing it, is kind of gently nudging you along the way that you should be going, but you still feel like you're exploring and discovering on your own.
I still had one moment where I spent a good half hour trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next, and it was just like a little thing that I had to blow up on the wall to get through. But
usually there have been several of these types of games though that I've stopped playing because I'm like, I don't know where the fuck to go. I'm totally confused. I'm gonna go do something else, and then I never come back to it. And like after a month, I'm like, I don't even know where the hell I was in this game. Like, it's over.
Well, one thing that I thought was brilliant that also played in with the EVs was the worlds or the levels shifting depending on what's happening. Like, you know, with the freeze stuff or the heat stuff and all that, like those environmental shifts and changes I thought were done really well. And I thought the EVs and their environments played even more so into that. So it was like all these possibilities of things that could shift and change throughout the levels as you went through. And actually, maybe there wasn't that many, but it just felt like so many as I played through it.
I think that played into the intelligent level design you were speaking about, though, because it's like it's true. Like, because again, in some of these games, you know, I think back to like, I mean, I love Hollow Knight, fantastic game, but I haven't finished it because I know that if I go back to play it, I have to start again because I just don't know where I'm going.
Totally.
And at least in this one, like you were saying, with the fire and the ice part, I mean, like, you know, some people might be like, I like that kind of ability to go absolutely anywhere, but in the way they kind of intelligently designed it, like when some areas are frozen, at least if you do get lost, you're like, okay, there's only maybe 3 ways I can potentially go to try and find out where I was supposed to be going. So at least you're not like completely lost. And I do think that I think that is really, really like, it's such a clever way to do it where they're not holding your hand, but at the same time there's just enough guidance so that you're just not completely like So I think I think again, like if you never played a Metroid game, it might actually be one of the best places to jump in.
Fantastic!
Absolutely.
Completely agree. Yeah.
The map too, I think, makes this game much more playable because it's such a descriptive map. It's so easy to read and follow. Like if you have a bad map in one of these games, it can be really a hindrance more than a help. And this map was fantastic. Like it would show you where there were secrets, but not exactly where the secret was, just the area that you should explore. It would show you where you've been. It would show you where you haven't been. It would show you like the doors. Like you could click on like a door that has like a block on it that you have just recently unlocked a weapon that can open. And then if you click on that, it would show you in the rest of the world where else there are that thing to help you kind of like, okay, that's because it's hard to remember.
I never did that. That's cool.
You know,
I had no idea they would do that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah,
it's definitely my game of the year.
Hands down for me. It was so obvious because
Me too.
Yeah, the fan lineage behind it, but also the fact that it just played so amazing on a Switch, both handheld and also with the Pro Controller.
Yeah, 60 FPS too, like perfectly smooth, like 99% of the time. I know that the writer of that article for Kotaku got a bunch of slack for saying, "Hey, you can play this on an emulator already." I did. I downloaded the emulator and checked it out at 4K 60. It was pretty fucking dope.
Oh dear.
That's awesome.
But I own the game. I don't feel bad about it. I own the game.
Yeah, you got a cartridge. You got a copy.
Yeah.
I got a copy.
If you've paid for the game,
Right.
What?
My game of the year is Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Ooh,
nice. It was just, you know, those experiences in games where you're just happy when you're playing it. It's like, I'm just happy. Everything's beautiful. I'm having a great time. And that's why it's my number one, is because, like you keep saying, Tufty, it's the thing where it just filled me with happiness. I was just happy playing it. It's my experience that makes me, obviously if I sat down and I'm like really nitpicked everything, maybe it'd be different. But just in terms of playing the game and having the rot buddies chasing you around and giving them hats, finding a new hat was amazing. we always were checking in on Briar to see what he was doing. He was the goldenrod. So goes, what's Briar doing? Oh, he's sleeping. Okay, great.
I was always sleeping. Every time I tuned into your stream, I was always like, he's sleeping.
Goldenrod's always sleeping or like looking very suspicious, which is perfect Briar.
I'll say, watch the
yeah.
rot in that game added the most motivation to go out and find trinkets that I've ever had in any video game.
Yeah.
Because putting those fucking hats on those little buggers was the most charming thing ever, and I just wanted to find all the hats.
I know. That's the thing. It's you know, you maybe say that to someone and they're like, why would I care about putting hats on some like little
You will.
babes? You will. You trust
You
me.
definitely will.
You will. So when I look at the map and it's like, oh, you 7 out of 8 hats found, I'm like, I gotta go find the other hat. I have to find it. Where's the freaking hat? So that and the spirit mail was another collectible thing that you'd find. And if you found the spirit mail, you go to the village and you can like cleanse the house that the mail belongs to. And that was a super cool experience. There was a unicorn hat in one of those, so it's worth doing the spirit mails. Yeah, just a super awesome experience running around a world that's beautiful. The animation is beautiful. The story was, I think, really good. And the boss fights, man, there were some boss fights in there that were pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Pretty hard, which I wasn't expecting. I know when we saw combat, we're like, oh, is this what kind of game is this? And you're like, oh, there's some boss fights that are really difficult. And I'll try not to do spoilers because I'm sure the people who haven't played it, but there was one fight at the top of a tree, with a forge-ish thing. And the thematics around that boss of like the moves that they did and the just everything was so well done that I was like, I just want to look at this boss forever. This thing is really cool.
Cool.
That level was when I fell in love with that game because the first level, I don't know if you can call it a level, the first kind of story in that game was pretty straightforward. I enjoyed it. But the second one hit on so many themes and the characters were so well represented and felt real. You know, like they felt like they had their own motivations and their own like, you know, backstory. It didn't just feel like here are your quest givers for the next 6 hours. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I really appreciated that about that game. They really the characters were awesome.
They did a really good job of making you feel emotion towards the characters. Yeah, the boss fights were great. And just we always say with Kena, they didn't do anything revolutionary to change the genre, but they did stuff really well. Like the abilities that you got and how you can use them in combat and use them to traverse the world was really cool. I loved that. And
I really want Sony to throw a shit ton of money at these guys and say, okay,
please.
You did a good job this time. Now do a great job next time. You know, like I can't wait to see what these guys do next.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, I'd love to see that.
Whether that's Kena Bridge of Spirits 2 or what, you know, like I don't even care what it is. Just I can't wait to see what they do.
Same. Yeah, it was an impressive game all around for me. I was just having a blast and looking at how beautiful the world is, and the combat was really fun. And yeah, I loved it, and all the bosses and their motivations with the bosses. Like you can kind of understand what happened to them and have emotions towards those bosses, which was
some real heartbreaking stuff in there.
And their first ever game.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. That's
how dare you?
Wow.
How dare you? Who do you think you are? Eric's, what's your number one Unero?
So, it'll numero uno. It'll be surprising to many people. It's not Monster Hunter. I did really enjoy Monster Hunter Rise. It was a fantastic game this year, but I didn't make it into my top 3. It was just like it's still one of my favorite Monster Hunters. But my number 1 has to go to Eastward. I love that game. Again, same kind of sort of like, you know, premise from you guys as well. It might not be like the best game from like a technical point of view, but it's just the game that I enjoyed the most. Like I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. It has like genuinely some of the best pixel art I have ever seen. And I just loved being in that world. It's funny because I look at that game and I think to myself, when I'm presented with games where you can go and speak to random NPCs. Like, I just never do these days. Like, these days, I golden line so much stuff, and I'm like, if you're not a quest giver or you don't have an item for me, I'm not talking to you. But in Eastwood, I just felt compelled to speak to everyone, and they all just had like funny little dialogues. The characters were so quirky. Combat-wise, I mean, it just resonated with me because, let's be honest, it was basically a Zelda game, right? It's top-down, basic combat. There's nothing super revolutionary here. You know, you swing a frying pan, you got a few different like guns and things like that. Like, combat's pretty simple, but it just works. It's just good combat. It's fun. I enjoyed, again, much like Tales of Arise, the story starts to fall apart near the end. There's quite a few plot holes and it gets a bit weird. And I can't really tell you what actually happened in that game. But I just really, it was kind of funny in a weird way as well, because I saw all the trailers and I kind of expected something, and then when this weird story started unfolding, I was like, am I playing Death Stranding or am I playing something else? Like, I don't even know what I'm playing anymore. But yeah, I just think it was a fantastic game. You know, like, it's like largely speaking quite linear, but there's a few little things you can kind of go off the beaten track and do if you want to explore, find some extra abilities. But yeah, I just genuinely think it's just such a fantastic game. And again, like, I don't know the size, but I know it's like worked on, like, again, by a super small team. So and to kind of like just see it come out and just, you know, people, it's a shame as well. Like, I was kind of like sort of sad to see that it didn't get as many nominations in Game Awards. And I mean, speaking to like other people, where some people were like, yeah, you know, like, it doesn't necessarily tick all these boxes. It starts to fall apart at the end. It's a little bit basic. It's like, oh yeah, fair enough. But for me, just, I had so much fun. And also because there wasn't really a need to play it from like a content point of view, I just sat down. I was like, I'm just playing this for me. So I just had so much fun with it.
Nice.
Yeah,
This is on my short list of games to play. I just ordered actually the physical version off of PlayAsia.
Oh,
I didn't know
nice.
there was a physical version available.
The world is so good. And that's why it really goes a long way when a world is just charming, or like you love just being in it and you feel like you're a part of that world. That's the same big reason why I have Kana so high, is for that same thing. Eastward is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Nice. Definitely need to play it.
Yes.
Pick it up on the Switch.
Yep. It's the plan.
So I think we can all agree that Metroid Dread, is the DCP SideQuest.
2 out of 4 say Metroid Dread.
I also love Dread. Dread was
I also
out
loved
of
it.
4 idiots agree.
I mean, I'll allow it. I'll allow it because it was a fantastic game.
It was a fantastic game. Let's
Oh,
see if
must
it wins
play.
Game of the Year, eh? It's up
That's
there.
true. It is actually nominated.
That should be like a surprise question from here. So ahead of Game Awards, what do you think is going to win based on the Game Awards nominations? Not what we want to win, but what do you think will win Game of the Year? I can't remember what it is. Let me.
I got to bring up all the nominations.
It's like Resident Evil. It's
good.
Psychonauts 2. It was
Game of the Year. Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil. I almost want to vote for It Takes Two just to spite Take-Two. For suing them. You know? I was very tempted to be like, I'm just going to vote for them for everything. I hope you win every category.
That is a bully move because you know there's prior art there, right? Like, there's definitely prior. I feel like Deathloop has been a critical darling this year. Psychonauts, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like genuinely it's going to be between like Metroid Dread and maybe Deathloop. I feel like whenever there's a Nintendo game in a Game of the Year nominations, it kind of just wins anyway. And like when it's Zelda, I'm not going to complain. But like I feel like I'm going to place my bets on Metroid Dread, and then the internet will probably get angry about it because they'll just be like, how can this kid's game on a handheld device win a Game of the Year? I don't know. I'm putting my money on Metroid Dread. We'll have to review next week.
Ooh. I'm going to put my money on... What? No, never mind.
No?
I was going to say Ratchet and Clank, but it's PS5. So how many people have actually played the game to vote for it for Game of the Year?
Well, this is voted on by members of the press, right?
Well,
So
we vote for it as well. I submitted
No, you
my
vote for the community Game of the Year, right?
No, I signed in and I voted for it.
Are you sure? I thought there
Yeah.
were 2.
It takes into consideration the public vote,
Oh, okay.
but it's not purely the public vote.
Well, with that knowledge, I also feel like Metroid Dread is going to win. Because,
Yeah.
again, Nintendo, ravenous fan base. Like, I know Deathloop was a critical darling, like you were saying, but I know there was a lot of people who it just didn't sit well with them. Like, I think you, Briar, right? You didn't jive with
I
it?
didn't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ratchet and Clank because if the fan vote is it's there but means little bit, then I think maybe critically people might vote for that.
Okay.
I'll say that. So we got Metroid Dread, Ratchet.
Yeah. Fan vote isn't going to go for It Takes Two. I don't know. Resident Evil. It could go for Resident Evil. I'm going to go Metroid Dread. My heart says Deathloop is going to win this. I think
Yeah. I feel like
the critics just
Deathloop-
fucking adored that game.
They did.
They
true,
did. They really
true,
did.
True. Yeah.
I liked it. I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was fun. It had a lot of style. It was oozing with style that you may or may not have liked, but it had plenty of that. So I could see a lot of people being like, yeah, man, feel this. But I think Metroid Dread's going to take it.
Okay.
All right.
Another spontaneous question. So since Uncle Jeff has said that there's going to be not 1 but 4 Elden Ring caliber trailer reveals.
Elden Ring gameplay trailer caliber
Gameplay
reveals,
trailer
which is
caliber.
like even
Gameplay specific?
Exactly.
Yeah, he specifically said gameplay reveal
Yeah, he said
level
on the,
announcements.
So if that's the case,
At
what
least
do we
4 or
think?
5 as well.
What do we
I think he's full of shit. I think he's trying to get more people to watch the Game of the Year award show.
He's gonna see this is the big brain play. You get more people to watch because of that statement, and then people get pissed off because the statement's incorrect, and then they tweet about it all
Create
over
more
the
buzz.
internet.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. There's the buzz.
I mean, it could also be that he did like conveniently make that tweet after he was getting some heat for people saying that he was fence sitting the Activision stuff.
Yeah,
he was
he was.
Yeah, so like maybe he's like, surprise, there's gonna be more stuff. Please forget about this.
I mean, can you name 4 games that could possibly be announced that would be of Elden Ring excitement? I mean, Elden Ring has been the most anticipated game for 3 years in a row.
Well, I definitely think one of them. I genuinely think because it's not necessarily going to be a reveal. It might be like gameplay of things we've been looking forward to. So honestly, if I think about it off the top of my head, I do genuinely think one of them will be like finally full scale gameplay trailer of Breath of the Wild 2, maybe with a name. I think that might be one of them.
Nintendo usually do the Game Awards.
Yeah. We've had Breath of the Wild for a few. I think a couple of them before. I think maybe it could be like first gameplay of Starfield. That would be like
that would be pretty big.
That would be pretty big. Okay.
Yeah. The next one I think could be they've been teasing it for a while, but it could be like gameplay of Fable, or like a trailer of Fable because we've only had a teaser so far.
Does that franchise really have that much cachet anymore?
Maybe not, but I don't know. There's an audience for it. Maybe not in the same tier as the other stuff, but
it was always a franchise that was stuck on the Xbox. Like it was good. I enjoyed the first 2 games, but it was never like Zelda quality, you know?
True.
Final Fantasy 16 gameplay
Yeah.
reveal. Or
maybe
Final Fantasy 7 Part 2.
Honestly, Part 2 sounds pretty realistic. Like they might actually show a little bit of Part 2.
That'd be more exciting to me than Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Kojima reveal.
We've already seen.
He loves.
We've already seen some 16 stuff, right? In gameplay, like they showed
We've
a
seen
trailer.
a little
with it.
bit.
Yeah.
Release date. If they put a release date on it, that would be pretty big.
Yeah. We were talking before the podcast, and I said Bloodborne 2 jokingly, but like Bloodborne 2 would 100% if they actually legitimately dropped that. But it would go completely contradictory towards them getting hype for Elden Ring. So they obviously wouldn't say, by the way, Bloodborne 2 is coming, and then Elden Ring
Would an announcement of Bloodborne on PC be big?
Oh. I think it's adjacent. Pretty big. It'd be pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a remaster for the PS5.
A full remake would be.
Yeah. I don't
I
feel
would
like
just
they
take
need
a
to do that,
remaster.
but
I'm happy with
I
a
know,
remaster on that
I know,
game.
but
Yeah.
imagine if they did what they did with Demon Souls, with Bloodborne, and just like.
I'd be
That'd
happy
be
with a
amazing.
motherfucking pro patch that got it up
And
to 60 FPS. Like, I don't even need a fucking remaster.
Sure.
I've been
So I guess
I
there's
finished
some
Demon
options.
Souls this month, and I've been going back. I
Ooh.
started playing Dark Souls 3, but my computer broke. I had to send it back to NZXT. So I
Unfortunate.
started playing Dark Souls Remastered, which I had never played the remastered version, only because I owned it on Xbox. I'd gotten it on Xbox at some point. And I could go for Bloodborne. That's definitely my favorite one of all of those games.
Bloodborne is an amazing
Bloodborne
title.
is fantastic.
Even the DLCs, like it just makes it
Oh,
perfect.
so good.
Aside from
But man,
yeah.
I got awfully used to playing those games at 60 FPS now.
Yeah.
Every
ya.
single one is 60 except Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time. It's time
Exactly.
for a remaster. Just
Yeah.
make it, give it the 4K textures and make it 60.
Give it to Blue Point.
Yeah, true.
Bluepoint
Yeah, I
had to
know.
completely rebuild Demon Souls, though, didn't they?
Well, this is the thing. They're probably going to have to do something similar with Bloodborne because anytime someone's upped it to 60 with like a cracked PlayStation or whatever, it breaks so many things.
Correct.
It's like
so
what
much
happened to
is
Demons
tied.
or Dark Souls, right? Is when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
try to get that
Yeah.
game running at 60 FPS on PC.
Yep.
It would break things like you'd slide down a ladder and die because you're going too
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
That was fall
Mm.
damage.
FPS is tied to so many things
Yeah.
fundamentally of a game. Yeah.
Anything else?
You know what I finished the other day? It wasn't a nomination, but I just went back the other day. I finally finished Horizon.
Really?
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Interestingly, as an experiment, I just did it because I was playing it through and I was like, I just want to know the story before the thing. I've never done this before, and this is people be like, you're turning into a casual gamer. I played the game on story difficulty, not easy, story. I've never experienced this before, but you know what? It's actually quite cool because I wasn't in it because I was like, I'm not here for the challenge. I just want to know the story, and I don't particularly want to watch the story recap. I just want to at least experience the game, and it was actually quite a nice experience. Like I did it in 10 hours. So it was quite a fluid, quite a smooth experience. Just sat in, got to enjoy the cutscenes. Combat was obviously still there, but it wasn't really a challenge. Most things just die pretty quickly, but you can kind of just go through, at least experience it. And like when you get to like the bosses and stuff, you still get to have like a little bit of back and forth. Nothing's really going to stop you, but it was actually quite a fun experience. But at least now I know where I'm sitting for Forbidden West.
Did you
I ended
feel
up doing
like
story mode with Guardians of the Galaxy for a while because I was like, this combat sucks anyway. So
there you go.
Yeah.
In Horizon, did you feel like they wrapped up the story, or did it leave it on a cliffhanger for you?
Definitely cliffhanger because of the post-credit scene.
See, Briar.
Well, I don't remember the post-credit scene. What was the post-credit scene?
Well, there was so much left untold on Silas at the end, and like what he was doing.
Oh, I didn't give a shit about Silas. I thought he was annoying. All of the side
How
characters.
could you not care about Silas? He's like, oh my god.
All of the side characters in that game, like I gave zero shits about. I basically started mainlining that story halfway through the game.
That's why the main mystery that
the main story that I cared about was what had happened to the world to cause this, and that is wrapped up. And that's really where I was like, okay, I got what I need.
All right, whatever. You just die from whatever crap that's happening. Silas making some.
Well, everybody dies, you know.
Oh dear.
World's
I was like,
there's robot dinosaurs everywhere.
Silas gonna go cause more trouble. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of that, I was like, oh man, I want more of this world and what's going to happen to these people and what Silas is up to.
The story was surprisingly good. I don't think anyone expected it to be as gripping as it was.
Except for Brian.
But it definitely was.
He didn't care about the story.
I like the main story, like what happened to this world. Everything else I thought was kind of not well written. To be honest.
These mechanical dinosaurs are awesome and how they're made. I like that. Don't care about the people. They could die off.
Yeah. The side quests were too fetch questy for me.
Yeah.
A lot of the side quests were really the same too. That's the problem I had with Ghost of Tsushima too. Is the side quests were really not great.
Definitely don't
The
agree on that.
side quests in that though, like not the side quests with like the main characters.
Oh, okay.
That you do their like storylines. I'm talking about like the stuff that you just kind of run into along the road.
The generated stuff. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, Game of the Year awards is on Thursday.
Yes.
I
You
forgot
think
what
they'll postpone
time.
it if we ask?
They might.
Send an email.
We'll be able to watch
Hey, Jeff.
a
do you think you
little
could
bit
postpone-
before it happens, before podcast time.
All
think
right.
A, we know you're full of shit about 4 announcements. B, can you just postpone one day? Just on a Friday.
Why not do it on a Friday? Friday is
Wrong
the
with Friday?
day to do party things.
Well, this week, obviously, there's a couple big things. Destiny is getting its anniversary expansion dropping tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's a big jumbo pack right there. And then also Halo Infinite reviews for the campaign fund that came out. It's looking rosy. Pretty
Looking
good.
good.
Yeah.
And what is that? Is it Thursday when that launches? Officially, the campaign?
What's that?
I think it's
Halo Infinite
Wednesday.
campaign?
I think
Is
it's
it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 8th.
So between those two drops and then Game Awards, it's quite a bit of stuff going on this week, which means next week we'll be digging in to all them details. Oh, I did want to give a shout out to a couple games that I've been playing. Artful Escape is an indie title.
That's nominated for debut indie. I think it's nominated for a few things actually.
Yeah, published by
In the Game
Annapurna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. If you're published by Annapurna, are you technically indie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's fine lines with some of the stuff.
Yeah.
That game is like it's an experience. That's what it is. Like you're a rock folk musician living in the shadow of your uncle, who's basically like Bob Dylan.
No.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And then you go through this crazy psychedelic, like clearly drug inspired experience, and it's pretty cool. I actually
Might have
really
to play that this month too.
I've really been enjoying it. I could see some people expecting more of a game and kind of being disappointed, but like if you look for just the artistic experience of playing through and like going through the environments and hearing these guys talk. Also, there's amazing voice actors in there.
Oh, good.
Lena Headey, Jason Schwartzman,
Yeah.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers is in it, and he's awesome. He's fantastic.
I saw Fran actually started playing it and was streaming it.
Nice. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah.
I hope so.
It's one of those things where you might enjoy it or you might be expecting something completely different, but I think it's definitely worth checking out. And it's on, I think it's on the Game Pass as well. So
really?
if you got that, you can go download it and check it out.
Sometimes it's nice to just have a game that's an experience. You know,
it's totally an experience.
There's totally space for those games.
Yeah.
It's got the art style like a Beatles cartoon from the 60s.
Yeah. Like his uncle
Beatles
looks like
video.
his uncle looks like Bob Dylan.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
gonna have to check it out.
Solar Ash also came out. I played a little bit of that, and it's interesting. Controls are a little funky, but it's cool. Another experience type of game.
It got mixed reviews, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little like I said, the controls make it a little clunky, and you're expected to be doing some timed things, but it's another one of those like experiential type of experiences right there. But yeah.
Okay. There's a game that came out a couple days ago, Briar, that you may be into, and you other guys may be into. It's called Chorus.
Heard about this.
And it's a game where you fly spaceships. And
Is Jar Jar Binks in it?
I don't think so. It's an indie space action adventure shooter.
Sorry, I'm not interested then.
But like the
this looks cool as
cutscenes
hell.
look great, the graphics are great. It's gotten really good reviews. So I think if you're into like space combat, you would love this game. Love this game.
Cool.
And
Check it out. Thanks, Watts.
No problem. It's $40. It's currently sitting at very positive reviews on Steam. And yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if it's something I would love because I'm not like super into space shooters, but even just seeing like how beautiful it is. It just looks really cool. So even me who's not into that kind of thing, I kind of want to play it.
I don't know if I've ever been more hyped for a piece of hardware. as I am for the Steam Deck. Like I am
Yeah.
really, really looking forward to that thing coming out.
Seriously.
Like I want so many of these games to be able to play on my Steam Deck.
And when it was announced, we were thinking, Watts, you were expecting to get it this month, and then it got
Yeah, I
delayed.
could have had it right now. Could have
Damn
been
you,
given a
chip
review.
shortage. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's the episode. Correct? Did we do it?
I think
Yeah.
so. Let's
Next week we'll do the old Game Awards recap.
the Game
Yeah.
Awards
Fun.
rant.
We
where
will
we
criticize all their choices.
rant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for going along the journey with us on the Game Awards stuff of what our picks are. We appreciate all the support. Shout out to our
Let
Patreon
us know
members.
what you guys' game of
Yeah.
the year is. I'd
Yeah, I'd
actually
love
be
to
really
hear.
interested. Tweet it at us. Put it in the comments on YouTube.
Yeah,
Whatever you want
any
to
of
do.
those
I'd love
places.
to know.
Yep, that would be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for the support from our Patreons and also Twitch subs here on Twitch. You guys are awesome, and thanks for everyone tuning in. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
See
Bye.
you later.